Have you ever felt like your mind is a perpetual motion machine that never stops, even when the entire world around you has drifted into silence? There is an underwater current constantly swirling behind your eyes, a low hum of tens of thousands of thoughts that you cannot escape. If you choose to stay and listen to these words, I promise you will find the key to liberating yourself. Or at least, you will finally understand why your intelligence has been your heaviest chain. You watch those around you laugh with such ease, love with such innocence, and live without a second thought. You wonder what that feels like. To exist without dissecting every heartbeat or analyzing every flicker in a stranger's gaze. For you, nothing is ever simple. Every smile hides a question mark. Every goodbye becomes a research paper. You feel too much, think too deeply, and care beyond measure. This is your superpower, but it is also the most brutal curse you must endure. The truth is, you were not born this way. There was once a time when you perceived the world without the need to define it, but along the journey of growing up, your mind gradually became a shield, a fortress built of logic and memory to protect you from being hurt. Psychology calls this state hypervigilance. It is the way your brain keeps you in a constant state of readiness for danger. Even when the storm passed 1,000 years ago, you began scanning the world for meaning, predicting every catastrophe before it arrived. But this awakening always comes at a devastating price. The more you think, the more you lose touch with the actual flow of life. Every emotion must pass through the filter of reason. Every experience placed under the microscope of analysis. You are both the actor and the audience of your own life, unable to fall into the present because you are too busy interpreting it. In neuroscience, this is known as analysis paralysis. It is the freezing effect that occurs when the mind spirals into infinite possibilities, only to end up unable to choose a single path. You begin to see the patterns in human behavior, the cracks in relationships that others usually ignore. The more you see, the harder it is to find a sense of belonging. You crave understanding, but that very understanding isolates you on a lonely island. There is a very thin line between awareness and obsession, between curiosity and self-torment. Deep thinkers must often walk that path alone. You live in a world that worships quick answers, yet your mind hungers for questions that have no solution. You search through sleepless nights, not because you want to suffer, but because you cannot live without the answer to the question, why? The roots of a deep thinker often begin in silence. It starts with a child sitting in a dimly lit room, watching shadows under the door and listening to the fragmented voices of adults. Back then, you didn't know the names of emotions, but you knew how to read the tension in the air. You learned not to cry or demand, but only to observe in order to survive. Your mind became a radar system, constantly scanning for the smallest tremors before the earthquake hit. This depth brings a profound sense of loneliness. While other children were playing, you were busy building theories on why people hurt one another. You felt older than your actual age, too alert and too awake. You tucked massive emotions away inside quiet eyes. The world mistook your silence for peace, but inside, your mind never stopped whispering questions about the nature of existence. As you grew, you wore your intellect like a second skin, polished and impenetrable. People admire the way you see through things. They come to you for advice, to decode the incomprehensible. You are the one who can turn chaos into language and pain into lessons. But beneath that clarity lies a deep exhaustion. You have learned to survive through thinking. But survival is not the same as truly living. It is strange how emotional intelligence can become a wall of separation. You read people so well that you predict their rejection before it even happens. You prepare for heartbreak even before the love has begun. This is not cynicism. It is a self-defense mechanism disguised as wisdom. The mask of insight protects you, but it also keeps you at a distance from the world you long to touch. Science shows that overthinkers often have intense activity in the prefrontal cortex, the brain's reasoning center. Simply put, you think to survive, but in the process, you forget how to feel. You tell yourself that knowledge will bring peace, but peace never arrives, because understanding and acceptance are two entirely different concepts. You can decode the mechanics of love and still feel unloved. The labyrinth of thought keeps you safe from the unpredictability of others, but it also locks you in a prison of your own making. Sometimes, you meet someone who can see through the glass, making you feel valued instead of studied. But even then, you hesitate. You look for subtext in every word and analyze the meaning of every silence. You mistake vulnerability for danger, because in your past, they were once the same thing. Yet, even the sharpest minds need an anchor. Your mind is not chaotic. It is simply overactive. Even in the dark, it vibrates with a gentle electricity. Scientists call this the default mode network. In most people, this network rests when they relax. But for you, it never shuts off. It repeats, reflects, and reenacts every moment that has passed. You aren't just experiencing life. You are processing it into cold data points. All your thoughts are connected like a tangled web. A small emotion can trigger dozens of associations, creating rules that ordinary people never notice. You might call it intuition or creativity, but it is also sensory overload. Your brain doesn't just look at the world, it absorbs the world, and this openness always comes with a price. An extreme sensitivity to pain. You walk into a room and feel the tension before anyone speaks. You sense the unspoken pain of the person across from you. You cannot stop it, because your brain is programmed to catch these frequencies. As a result, your emotional bandwidth is always occupied by the noise of others. You live with a never-ending white noise, a tug-of-war between logic and emotion, between analysis and empathy. Depth creates art and philosophy, but it also creates an abyss. When the neural circuits that create meaning also amplify pain, you begin to drown in your own depth. You mistake thinking for control, and you mistake rumination for insight. A restless brain can see truths that others miss, but it can also imprison you in those brutal truths forever. There comes a moment when the mind turns to betray its master. It doesn't announce itself. It slips in quietly between reflection and obsession. What was once called wisdom now feels as heavy as a stone. You cannot stop decoding until your thoughts no longer serve you, but begin to consume you. It is a form of insomnia that needs no darkness, haunting you even on the brightest days of this year. 2025. Carl Jung called it the shadow. Those rejected parts of the self that grow stronger the more we try to suppress them. For the deep thinker,
Do you think our words
the
carry
shadow
weight?
is thought itself.
Only
The
if they
very
take
brilliance
flight.
that once brought clarity is now tightening around your mind like a vice. Every idea becomes a door to a new question, making you wonder if intellect is a gift or a death trap. There is a reason for this torment. The human brain was never designed to endure infinite awareness. You don't just live. You interrogate life. You question the purpose of love, the fairness of pain, and the nature of being. You feel displaced because your mind lives in the deepest layers, while the conversations around you only take place on the shallow surface. Connections become temporary and conditional. You envy those who live without the need to understand. To them, The world simply is. To you, the world must always mean something, and in that chase for meaning, you begin to lose your connection to actual life. Nietzsche once warned, when you look long into an abyss, the abyss also looks into you. Thought becomes a cathedral, but also the prison of your soul. This pain was not born in isolation. It was shaped by the world we live in. Have you ever felt born in the wrong era? As if your mind speaks a slower, quieter language that this hurried society no longer has the patience to hear. Look around. Everyone is rushing, talking loud, scrolling endlessly, their hearts chasing the next distraction. Everything is urgent. Everything is instant. But nothing is real. In a world addicted to noise, silence has become an act of rebellion. You feel the dissonance between your depth and the pace of society. You stop to think, but the world punishes hesitation. You search for meaning, but meaning takes time. And time is something no one owns anymore. The digital age has trained our attention like a muscle that spasms at every new notification on the screen. The result is a silent suffocation of the mind. Psychologists call this cognitive overload, the burnout of a brain that is constantly stimulated but rarely nourished. Research shows that the ability to focus has plummeted over the last 2 decades. It is not because we have become less intelligent, but because we have become more fragmented. Mental bandwidth is split into 1,000 pieces, each chasing novelty instead of depth. For a deep thinker, this fragmentation feels like spiritual exile. You see the complexity and beauty of the world, but the culture around you only wants short sound bites and false certainty. You begin to hide your depth because it makes others uncomfortable. You tone down your opinions, dilute your thoughts, and laugh at hollow jokes just to appear normal in a society that mistakes apathy for maturity. But beneath that mask, a pain still lingers. You crave real connections, soul-touching dialogues, yet when you try to speak the language of the inner self, it only echoes back emptiness. Even so, remember that deep thinking in this age is not just rare. It is revolutionary. To slow down is a defiance. To feel deeply is a way to resist desensitization. To question everything is how you reclaim your mind from the cookie-cutter machine of the masses. The cost of seeing deeply is feeling deeply. As the world moves faster, your heavy mind begins to fall behind. It is a strange kind of exhaustion. You don't collapse from running or working. You collapse from caring too much. You walk through life with eyes that never stop noticing the broken fragments. A couple arguing in silence. The forced smile of a cashier. You absorb it all and carry those pieces home. Every truth you see settles inside you, creating empathy fatigue. The neural circuits that make you kind are the same ones that flood your system with cortisol when overloaded. Your brain treats every emotional signal as an emergency. You smile, you work, but inside you are always bracing for something. This is the price you pay when your awareness is too awake. In a world that is fast asleep, you begin to feel responsible for the pain of all humanity, for the fragility of every relationship. Empathy, once alight, begins to burn you. You want to care, but you are too tired. You want to love, but love feels like lifting a mountain. You want to rest, but the mind refuses to turn off the lights. You are both the observer and the vessel, endlessly absorbing, endlessly analyzing, and endlessly feeling. However, beneath that weariness lies something sacred, because this exhaustion does not come from emptiness. It comes from depth. It means your heart is still alive enough to ache, that you have not been hardened by the indifference of the times. The inability to stop thinking sometimes blurs the line between wisdom and sorrow. You wonder if awareness is worth its price, or if it is stealing your ability to live freely. But even when you doubt, a part of you refuses to give up that depth, because somewhere, deep down, you sense that the weight you carry is the seed of a great transformation. There will come a time when you realize you cannot think your way out of everything. There are wounds that cannot be healed by understanding. There are things that were born to be felt, not fixed. The healing of a deep thinker does not come from thinking more, but from remembering how to be present. Peace is not the absence of thought. It is the art of not believing everything you think. Your restless brain will never be silent, but you can soften it. Learn to hold your thoughts without drowning in them. Notice the small things, the sunlight through the curtains, or the rhythm of your own breath. Psychologists call this embodiment, placing your awareness in your body. Instead of just living in an overloaded head, no matter how smart your thoughts are, they cannot experience the world for you. Only your senses can. Learn to draw boundaries, not to shut people out, but to protect your inner world. Do not allow every problem of the world to rent space in your mind anymore. Creation, whether through words, painting, or music, will be the bridge between what you feel and what you let go. And perhaps, the most powerful act of healing is honest connection. Speaking your truth without over-explaining. Sitting next to someone and being fully present. When you live with true depth, life is no longer a code to be broken, but an experience to be embraced. You will realize that being a deep thinker was never the problem. The problem was believing that depth must always equal suffering. You were never too much. You were simply too awake in a world terrified of its own reflection. Deep thinking was never the curse. Forgetting how to feel was the true tragedy. After all the questions, after the white nights and the tireless analysis, your mind will eventually reach a point of exhaustion. But that is not failure. It is a necessary letting go. You will see that all the searching and philosophizing has been one long, endless circle. You have read every map and chased every truth, only to find that the peace you craved was never at the destination. It was always there, in the stillness right beneath your feet. Your thoughts, however brilliant, are both a compass and a cage. They lead you through the dark, but they also trap you within it. True freedom only comes when you stop demanding answers and begin allowing awareness to flow freely. The ultimate goal of thought is to realize its own helplessness, so that we can integrate both light and shadow into a single whole. The more you understand, the less you will feel the need to explain. You trade complexity for clarity, noise for nuance. In that stillness, you discover a truth both ancient and new. True wisdom does not lie in constant analysis, but in presence. Intelligence is not about knowing more. It is about needing less. The mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. And one day, when all the questions finally fall silent, you will hear a gentle pulse beneath the stream of thought. It whispers what you have been searching for all along, that you never had to use your mind to find peace, because your very essence has always been that peace. Welcome back to yourself, traveler of the deep.